Thomas, you had mentioned, being impacted right now by Omicron. And, over the last 2 years, we've all been working from home. And you had mentioned, I guess, a story on CNN that came out on Friday talking about working while sick, whether that's in the office or whether that's remote. Tell us a little bit about the article and kind of, your experience with all of this.
The article on CNN that was released was primarily talking about frontline employees, restaurant, hotel, your lower waged employees, how going into work, even though they know they're sick or know that they've been exposed to the various viruses, whether it's COVID or flu or other things that's going around this time of year, and talking about how we're one of the few industrialized nations that doesn't have national time off. And I relate to that because right out of college, I remember working for a job and testing positive for flu and being told you need to go home for a minimum of 2 weeks. And I was like, if I'm gone for a shift or a week, then how am I going to make my rent? And so I personally am lucky now that I have jobs that allow me to work from home. A job that allows me to work from home, lots of Zoom calls, and we've been doing it for so long. But my heart goes out to these people who, could miss rent, especially with the Great Resignation going on.
Yeah.
What are y'all's thoughts on that?
Gosh, I totally hear what you're saying. I think paid time off, paid sick leave is incredibly important. Don't abuse it, right? If you have if you there are people that have been, I don't know, they wake up on the wrong side of the bed, or maybe they're hungover or something like that. They might use a paid sick day. Like, don't do that. But there needs to be something in place that protects you. Because I remember like being a contractor, right? Like when I was a contractor, I was paid by the hour. And so if I didn't show up, even if I took vacation, which I didn't take vacation because I wanted to be able to get paid, I would show up really as often as I could. I rarely take sick days, but it's always been my pet peeve. Is because even companies that do have this paid time off, there's still an expectation that if you're sick, you still work. And I think that's where a problem kind of, at least that I see in it, because, at a previous company that I was at, we would always have these all hand meetings in January. And it was always the time when the flu was going around. And I can't tell you how many people would show up to these all hands meetings sick with the flu and then infect the entire office. And it's selfish because, the leaders tell everyone that, hey, you need to be there for this meeting. And so there's this expectation that they can't miss it, even if you've got 102-degree fever and need to be hospitalized. And there were legitimate cases in which that happened. And so I think in what we're seeing now with COVID and this work from home thing is, people look at being sick as not a time to rest and try to get better. They look at it as, oh, well, now you can just continue to work from home as needed. And I think that's problematic. You can't fully heal and fully be functional unless you take that time off to relax. Now, if you need to catch up on stuff, sure. But if you need to work, fine. Maybe you work 2 to 3 hours, or maybe non-traditional business hours, or don't have that expectation that if you are sick with the flu or COVID-19, that you should be doing your same job for 8 to 10 hours a day. Because if you have paid time off for sick leave, it should be granted. That's just my 2 cents.
Well, let's shift gears here.
Hold on, let me shift the gear.
No, seriously though, when I think about folks who are living paycheck to paycheck and who don't have the luxury of staying at home, but work in industries where they're not only low paying, but the fact that they're being present at that job depends on their livelihood, and being sick is not an option for them. And then when they are at work, they're exposed to people who come in who are probably sick, and still they have to be face to face with those folks. Think of all the restaurants. Think of all the other retail spots that people are coming in. I see a lot of employees. Yes, they're wearing the mask and things like that, but they're still being exposed to people who are coming in without it, who do not respect the policies and actually get angry, even, on airlines and things such as that. But their livelihood, the point is their livelihood depends on it. So they don't have an option to be sick. And I don't know that they're being selfish versus that they don't have a choice.
I agree. I
You're
agree.
not making any money as it is. You've got to
Yeah.
pay rent. And it's bad enough that people already accuse you of not wanting to work in those particular levels of depending on who it is in the industry and whatever. And that's not even the case. They have to work. And they don't get insurance.
We'll get into the Edelman Trust Barometer here in a bit, but some of the data from the Edelman Trust Barometer actually mentioned, that businesses should take a lead on things like, jobs, the economy, and then also like healthcare discussions. And I think for the
Mhm.
healthcare discussion, that's what it fits in. Like, even if you're an hourly worker, there should be something built in where you have like 2 weeks paid sick leave or something like that. Like, just because you're sick doesn't mean you can't pay for your home, your electricity, your power. Like, that's a societal problem. And the problem is like, when you have somebody that is living paycheck to paycheck and does need to go into that hourly job, uh even if they are sick, then they spread it to other people. Like, we look at like the Apple stores, for example. Like, at the end of the day, like, if Apple doesn't have a retail store open, it's fine, because you can buy an Apple product online, have it sent to you, and you
Mhm.
get it in like in 2 days because of the supply chain. But they've been hit really hard during probably around the holiday season with the Omicron variant, because they had workers going in who didn't know they had it, spread it, and then ultimately they had, at some locations, including here in Houston at the Highland Village location, like
Mhm.
100 employees that were out of COVID. So they had to shut down their retail store
Well, think
for
about, and
10
also think
days.
about the warehouses with
Exactly. Like
Amazon.
Amazon, right.
Same thing.
And
They've
it's
had a lot of
because they
issues.
yeah, and it's because they don't have these policies in place. Now, granted, some people might have Omicron and not know they have it. They have no symptoms, and maybe so they inadvertently spread it.
Mhm.
But there are people that are probably, they need that paycheck, and they don't feel comfortable taking that time off, or maybe they're not granted that time off. And I think that's where the issue lies.
Yes, I think that's too. And I think as customers, we should also be mindful of the signs, because I remember driving back from Florida, or driving to Florida for Christmas and seeing signs that say, we're short staffed. Be mindful that, hey, they might be short staffed because somebody is calling in sick and being responsible, not because of the great
Yeah,
resignation.
and
Mhm.
be patient. Be patient with people. Like, I I've been recently selling some of my baseball card collection on eBay, and so whenever I have a sale, I'll go to the post office, and sometimes I'll wait like 5 minutes in line. And again, it's no big deal. I'll check emails on my phone or something like that. But there are people sometimes standing in line that are so hostile towards the workers, uh, and just because of the wait times. And should the post office be better staffed? Sure. This has been an ongoing problem for the postal office for years, just being short staffed, underfunded. But the employees that are working there, they can't control that. And so, like, show grace to people. And I always feel bad, when someone asks, like, or when I get up to the counter and I'm just like showing a QR code and they're printing it off and sticking it on the little mailer that I brought. And they always say, I apologize for the wait time. And I have to tell them, oh, it's no big deal. Like, how's your day? And I'll try to strike up a little conversation,
Mhm.
because so many people are assholes to them.
Yep.
They treat postal workers or people at like fast food or grocery stores as like subservient people. And sorry for the back to back swears, but that's bullshit. Like,
It
people are
is.
people.
Mhm. People forget to be human in
Yeah.
circumstances and situations such as that. I mean, we've been talking about be human and be this and humanizing and all of this, and it's it's almost as people are backpedaling on that, or they
You
never
know, it,
even tried.
I'm going to wrap up the sickness thing is if you're sick, stay home. Let's support companies that give company or hourly employees, hey, here's a week off or 2 weeks off if you're not feeling good. And employees, don't abuse it. I remember being younger and going from there. But on the niceness thing, I'm lucky that I grew up in the tourist areas, and you've heard stories about Key West where there's the front door and there's the side door. You get different menus and you get different levels of service on which way you come in, because it's one's for the locals and for the nice people, and one's more for the other thing. I remember going to the Caribbean when I was younger, and learning it very early that if you just walk in saying, "Hey, I need this," or "Hey, I want this," they'll look right through you. But if you start off with, "Hey, how's your day going? Oh, by the way, can you help me with this?" The level of service is completely different. And so, just starting off on a positive foot,
Yep.
being nice.
You've been listening to the Business Communicators.